What's up, everyone? Welcome to Anything is Possible, How2 Tuesday. We got Chad Thomason in the house. Welcome in. Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors. We got Tim from Likes to Fish and Hunt. Stuart, the Fish Whisperer. Tim's a member as well. How's everyone doing tonight? We got snow here. Stuart, it's not Valentine's Day yet here in America. We have 5 more hours till that nonsense here. But yeah, happy Valentine's Day to the people that are 5 hours ahead of us, like Stuart. Today we got some snow. I don't know how much Ted got, but over here on our side of the state, Ted and I both live in Pennsylvania. I'm on the east side, he's on the west side. We got like 6 to 7 inches of heavy wet snow. It's all almost gone already, though. Miss Jones in the house. Welcome in, Joan. Good to see you. So tonight we're going to talk about sunfish, panfish, typically. And again, the format of these How-To Tuesdays are informational, and they're for people to participate in, but also rewatch. So any information that you guys can add and get a good discussion going is only going to make it a better view for folks doing the rewatch. You didn't get any snow out there, Tim? Tim's also on the wrong side of the state. I guess it went straight up. I wasn't really paying attention. I worked all day, and I knew it was going to melt pretty fast. We have these huge pine trees, so I was worried the trees were going to come down, though. Are pumpkin seeds panfish, Stuart said. Yes. A pumpkin seed is a type, a species of sunfish, or one of the varieties of sunfish. So panfish, depending on the person, you might get a big difference in definitions of panfish. Some people will call anything that fits in a pan a panfish. Other people, like a perch, a crappie, some people don't like to call them panfish. I do. I will call them panfish as well. Trout could typically be a panfish too, depending on how you define it. And I've heard it argued every which way. For me, my definition is like sunfish. I will include perch and crappie in there, warmouth. And sunfish, you've got bluegill, you've got pumpkin seed, you've got red ear. They're all the type of sunfish. I'm sure I'm leaving some out. There's also, like down south, they'll call them bream, I think. Brim, I think is the way they pronounce that in southern parts of the United States. Rock bass, I would include rock bass in the same family as well. And a lot of the sunfish, check your own local regs, but like in Pennsylvania, like sunfish and perch and crappie, they go under like the same, I think it's like 30 or even 50 a day. It's some ridiculous amount of species. Sunfish, I understand, because sunfish, and we'll get into this in a little bit when I stick to my notes, but they reproduce a lot, and we'll talk about that. Daniel Burry, welcome in. Let's see. Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors, welcome in. It's been a while since I've seen you. I'm glad you popped in tonight. Hope all is well. Let's see. Stuart's dropping some links. Terry B, welcome in. Shell crackers is another type of sunfish, I don't know if you call them species, but another variety of sunfish. Yep. And sometimes shell crackers are used as like a general term as well, depending on where you're from. Red ear is another one. Yep. Red ears are more down south and maybe out west. You could probably answer that better than I can. Red ear is a very rare catch around here. We have caught them, but they're a pretty rare catch. There's Ray from Fish Head Videos. Ray, I'm not going to spoil, but he caught, I would call it a panfish, a new species, pretty elusive from what I understand, down in Florida. You have to check out his video to see that. It's a mystery fish, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it might have been a rock bass or a smallmouth. Well, definitely wasn't a smallmouth. I figured it was like a cross between a rock bass and something else, but it's its own little thing. It's pretty cool. Jack Katz and Bass is in. Welcome in. We got Sam from V8 Velocities coming in. Awesome. We got a full house tonight. Thank you so much. Please hit the thumbs up on the way in. Appreciate y'all. Let me look at the species, make sure we didn't miss any. Bluegills, red ear, pumpkin seeds. I think we got all those covered. I don't think I missed any. Yeah, I think we got the basics there. The one that Ray caught was not a warmouth. Good guess. That looked like a possibility. And sunfish do crossbreed pretty often. There's a lot of hybrids, which makes it even harder trying to figure them all out. All right, Ray's just going to come out and say it was a mud sunfish. I did not know what it was. Somebody in his video, or somebody commented on his long form video. I Googled it, and there was no doubt about it. That's what it was. And I Googled like Florida fish, and I looked up a lot of different things to try to figure it out. And not once did I see mud sunfish. And I think it was because mud sunfish maybe aren't supposed to be there. I'm not sure. There's Dwight from Curly Express, another member. Welcome in. Appreciate you. Let's see. Chad, appreciate you liking and sharing this out. Bud Files is in the house. Welcome in. What I heard was a, guessing by what I heard was a Mojara. Mojara, I think, was one of the names were in there, but unless that's another name for it, it was not. It was actually a mudfish. Granny Boy, that's Darren. Welcome in. Good to see you. Ted said, do you have green sunfish? Oh, yeah, green sunfish. We got one in our aquarium upstairs. Green sunfish get big, and they are one of the more common ones right here. And they're voracious. They are just voracious is not the word I'm looking for. I think the word I'm looking for is ferocious. But yeah, that's an awesome sunfish. Maybe not the prettiest sunfish, but awesome. They fight hard. Let's see. Yeah, Seven Springs Lake has them. That's nice. I love Seven Springs. I used to race there. Fishhead said, I did too. That subscriber is a hero. That's the best thing, man. It's all those unwritten things about having a channel. It's like the information and the people that you have as like resources and friends is awesome. You get some really good information out there. I did, as usual, a little less formal tonight, prepare some notes just so that I make sure I cover everything. Sweet. Ted's going to head to Seven Springs soon. That's awesome. You're going to ski over there, Ted? I think they still ski there, right? I think that's what it was. I raced there mountain bikes, but I think it was, I think they're still doing pretty good business there. Yeah, if anyone can drop that. Hey, Ray, you can drop it if you want, that video with the mystery fish. Pretty cool. So I asked Kevin, what I should say in this video, and he summed it up in one sentence. And it's very biased, and I'll tell you why. But he said, I said, what should I tell people on how to catch a sunfish? He said, catch a worm, stick it on a hook, and cast it out. And at its core, that's it. They are everywhere. They're in creeks, they're in lakes, they're in rivers. Now, that's Pennsylvania. It can be different everywhere. I like to say that sunfish are the easiest fish to catch until they're not. I don't know what happens, but occasionally, like, you'll just catch them and catch them and catch them. But occasionally you'll show up and all of a sudden you'll see them. They just won't bite. And we'll talk about that and how they feed. But mainly, well, we can talk about that right now. Sunfish basically feed by sight and scent. So sight, there's times where they will want a fast, really a fast delivery of a lure, like a spinner, zero mep, something like that. Other times they want like a trout magnet jig with like a power worm where you're just kind of barely moving it. Slip bobber with a worm, slip bobber with a minnow, slip grasshopper. Almost any bug you pick off the ground and can stick it on a hook is perfect sunfish bait. That being said, sunfish have tiny mouths and they are prone to swallowing bait. So you may want to use like a long shank hook because it is easier to get your bait out. They will swallow it a lot. Now, if you're going to eat them, it's not a big deal. But if you're doing catch and release and you don't want them to be swallowing it, or if you're tying flies, like, you know, who do we have in here? Stuart. Let's see if we have any other fly tires in here. You may want to consider tying them on a long shank hook for the purpose of catch and release. It'll make it a lot easier. We got Curbside Classics in. Welcome in. Northeast Lab Hunter is in. What's going on? He's another semi-local to our part of the world, I should say. That link. All right, so Stuart just dropped the link right there. That is to the mud sunfish, the mystery fish that Ray caught in his yard, I believe. Thank you for dropping that. So yeah, we're talking about pretty much any bait is going to work. Like almost anything that you find in the area you live is going to work. Lures, again, they have tiny mouths, but they'll hit almost everything. I've even caught them on whopper ploppers. It's amazing how hard they'll hit. Flies. One of my favorite ways to catch them is on a fly that floats on the water, like the, I guess you call them like a popper, I think. They're sometimes deadly in the summer. Rules and regs, you know, that's all local, but here, I mean, you can keep like 30 a day. It might even be more. I've never felt the need to keep that much, but they are delicious to eat. Sunfish are one of the best eating fish, in my opinion. They're very underrated. Great fish to eat, not only for taste, but also because of the way that they live and what they're prone to do. If you fish a lake and you find only small sunfish, chances are they are extremely overpopulated. The female will lay 200,000 eggs at a time. I think that's right. I feel like that's too high. But they lay a ton of eggs. So they're very prone to overpopulating a body of water. So it's a good fish to manage and eat. And in fact, the biggest sunfish are always caught in lakes where there's not a lot of sunfish. So they're really good food for other fish. A lot of other species will eat sunfish, like big catfish, bass will eat the babies. A lot of fish will prey on sunfish, depending on where you are, what predator fish you might have in your area. Muskie, for example, will eat those sunfish. But also for humans to eat. If you're going to take something from the water, sunfish is to me, it's like a no-guilt fish. I go out fishing in summer and I'm camping, I'm looking for sunfish to eat. Yeah, Tim, that's what I thought. I'm always afraid to go high. I think it used to be 30, but yeah, 50 sunfish. So, and we'll catch them live all the time for catfishing. I prefer chubs, but again, I feel a little less guilt taking sunfish than I do chubs. I feel like they're more plentiful. You can catch them on anything, very easy to catch. We catch them on bubble gum. Yep. Ted, have you ever had the experience where you go out and you just can't catch them? I swear it happens twice a year. And I don't know what it is, but every once in a while, I have to really think about it and change the approach up. And I mean, everyone and their uncle fishes them where we go. So, but usually what happens is it's either I've got to slow down the approach, like I have to go to like a trout magnet with a jig, or I have to go really fast and pass them at a high rate of speed and get the reaction strike. It's usually the opposite. So just changing what you're already doing is typically a good way to attract that, or good way to, nip that in the bud and actually catch them. Chad said minnow trap is a good way to catch them with homemade dough bait. They'll eat dough bait. In fact, not to get off the subject, but when we go carp fishing, one of the reasons I like the pack bait with a hair rig is because those minnow or those sunfish are going to be eating that dough bait right away. The little mouths of the sunfish are going to pick up the corn that's on the hair rig. Now, the hair rig is actually a loop off the main hook. So if they eat that corn, they're not getting the hook at all. A carp's big enough that it's going to suck that corn in, but also the hook. So you prevent a whole lot of accidental catches of sunfish. And Bulk as well. That's the OG right there. Bulk is our first member. Howdy, Bulk. Good to see you, buddy. I will try to call you after this if you're still up. I think you're AM over there, so I guess you're up. Let's see. He was probably asleep, Stuart. Some people do sleep. Stuart said, about time I phoned you. Bread balls work pretty good for bluegill. When I was growing up as a kid, we used to use Stroman bread, white bread, and we would get it and ball it up and put it on a hook and just slam them. Eventually, we would run out of bread, and we would just we would grab a sunfish and cut one up, and then we would catch the other sunfish on sunfish. They are not picky at all. Chad said, yeah, I had a hard time finding great trap bait. I tie up worm imitations work really good. There's a pond near us where we catch a ton of them for bait, and we'll use the bobber with a fly on it if they're being picky. At times, that's all they'll eat is the fly under a bobber instead of like a worm. Ted is asking me a direction. He said, Bob, I make my own baits, and last year I started making panfish baits, so I will be using them more this year. Awesome. Yeah, Ted does make his own baits as well. He does a lot of the formed rubber baits. I don't know the right name for them, like plastics. Really cool stuff. I think I might be on the list to get some of his stuff to try out. So I would definitely, if I'm getting that, I'll definitely be doing a video on that. We'll see. I forget what I even said I wanted, but we'll start. I fish for anything, but I'll definitely target whatever species they're for and do a video on it. Those worms are awesome, Stuart. Yeah, Stuart did tie up some of those like wiggly worms too. Worms are killer for sunfish. Dog food works great in minnow traps. That's right, Tim. I use extra cat food at times. What I usually do is I'll put a piece of turkey lunch meat in there with a piece of bread. That's like my go-to. And I usually just find whatever stale around the house. But I have used cat food or dog food. It works awesome. Boxcar says, welcome in, Boxcar Jerry, by the way. So panfish are so easy, even I can catch them. I've got faith in you, Jerry. They're tricky down in Philly, though. I'll tell you, that's one of the spots it's hard to catch them. You go out on the river, it's tough to catch them. All right, this is I'm glad Jerry came in and said that. Here's what I'm going to say, and this is probably, I forget who gave us this subject, but the biggest mistake I see with catching sunfish is usually by like newer anglers, and it's not going delicate enough. Like small lines, small sinkers. I use, a smaller rod. So, I use my go-to, and you don't need this, but if they're being picky, I would use an ultralight setup. I would use 4-pound fluoro, and I would use a size 8 hook. And the tiniest split shot to get the bait either on the bottom or drifting is what I would use. I see a lot of people going out there with like a size 4 or 2 or 1 hook with something you use for catfish. And just think about it. You got this big lead ball on the ground. Those sunfish hit fast and run. They feel that they're not going to get hooked. They're going to just spit it, or they're even getting partially hooked and you don't even feel them on there. So like I said, biggest mistake I see is people using too big of hooks, too heavy of weights, too beefy of a rod. So let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything here. And Ted said, I will be sending you some, Bob, and I will send some. Awesome. Yeah, I will do videos for both of the target species. I'm always looking for, we're multi-species. We're always fishing. I'm always trying to figure out what my next video is. A lot of times it's hard to do that because my videos are basically whatever Kevin wants to fish for that day. And I could do the coolest intro and we get there and the fish could be biting and he could be like, yeah, I'm not really into this. And I'm cool with it. I don't care what we fish, where we fish. If he wants to go chasing other species, I'm totally down with that. So it's really hard to plan videos. Northeast Slab, itty bitty hair rig tipped with a bit of a worm is the ticket for gills. So first time I ever used a Ned rig was like only a year ago. Ned rig? Am I using the right word? The weighted like head, like a mushroom head, the little piece of rubber you bounce on the ground. I think I'm using the right term, Ned rig. Sometimes I mix the words up in my mind. And I had never used one. I heard like everybody on Fish Brain, all these social apps, like, oh, I was using the Ned rig. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this someday. And I didn't even know what it was. I found it in a creek, and I cast. First cast, I caught a sunfish, and I continued to catch sunfish. And that's one of my go-to baits in one of the creeks I fish because it kills the sunfish there, but also the smallmouth bass. So yeah, I would totally agree with Northeast Slab Hunter. The hair rig tipped with a tiny bit of worm, amazing setup, and the hair rig on a Ned rig also killer. But yeah, just I use double hook angling. Dave tied me up a lot of his jigs. I use his or trout magnets, and you don't even need bait on it. And then if they're not hitting it, then just throw a piece of worm on it. Yeah, absolutely, Ted. Ted, you can drop your website for your baits. Totally cool. Be happy if you do that. That's awesome. Sam from V8, we always throw out dog food in a little pond in a couple hours, fish with worms. Yep, exactly. Chum them up. Tim said using too big of a hook too. Yeah, too big of a hook, too much weight. Biggest mistakes. Jerry said my saltwater marlin rig isn't good. I say this, my best friend, one of my best friends fishes with like the biggest gear. And I'm just always like, what are you doing? And he's always like, well, if it can't take this hook, I don't want to catch it. And I'm like, there's nothing in here that could possibly take that hook. But every once in a while he gets lucky and catches something. And they're always pretty big because they have to be. But that's his approach. Like, if it can't eat this, I don't want to catch it, which I guess is all right. I mean, those big fish are out there. Yeah, Tim said V8 had a good idea with the chumming them in with the dog and cat food. I do the same thing with like the pack bait with carp. I don't know if Travis is in the house, but I fish for carp a lot. And I'll give Travis the heads up because he and his buddy will go trout fishing right behind us or the next morning a lot of times because the trout come in and they're all over the corn. So we just fished for carp a couple times last week. And I forgot to tell Travis, right? I thought maybe he watched the live or something. So I didn't even tell him. And then he texted me. He's like, oh, my buddy went up there and, creamed the trout. I'm like, well, where'd he go? And it turned out he went to right where we were carp fishing, exact same spot. I'm like, was there any corn in the stomach? So he texted his buddy. He's like, yeah, it was loaded with corn. I'm like, all right, you're welcome. Yeah, it definitely works good. Stuart said a 20 dry fly will work. Good luck. Northeast Slab says, anything, do you know what I'm talking about if I say a little honey hole for bluegill in a place called UBE, not too far from either of us? UBE. I don't. I mean, I have a lot of spots for bluegill around here. Nothing like massive, but we're blessed where we are. We've got so many spots like that around here. UBE, is that abbreviation? I do love catching them, and they're just fun to catch, especially on the fly rod or ultralights. There's Jello, Angling with Andy. Welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in here. There is Ted's. Let me see if I can. I don't know. I'm trying to remember how to mark, like highlight. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how to highlight comments. Maybe I can't do it on here. Maybe it's only StreamYard. But anyway, Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors dropped his website for his baits there. And Stuart does flies and things. You can always visit his channel and order up his stuff as well. Russian Wind Mountains is in the house. Another awesome member. That is Ruby. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming in. Awesome live earlier. Beautiful views of the lake. Um, awesome. Ruby. Russian Wind Mountain puts out a ton of videos from their homestead in the middle of the mountains. So I know there's, I said this to Ruby before, but a lot of those channels out there that you'll see the very scenic scenes, it's all like rehashed footage. But I love that, like, they're behind the camera and they're in that place when they're showing it to you. To me, that makes a big difference. And I really, I think that's awesome. That is totally fine. Russian says, sorry, I'm late. Crazy evening for sure. That happens all the time. Trying to struggling with my chat here. All right, here we go. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. It just like jumped, so sorry if I missed anybody there. A little Ray said, Fish Head Videos says a little fish is better than a no fish. That's right. It is 10-inch bluegills by the dozen in there every time of year. Holy cow, man. That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be fun for sure. Stuart, that's what I was saying. He's about 20 flying color of his football team. I was saying you need to tie, what are they called? The flies that catfishermen use. You need to tie them in green and white for the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, market them to Philadelphia. There's a great flathead fishing in Philly. And green and white's a decent color for cats. I think that would be the way to go. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate that. I was watching a video the other night of my own. I was like editing and I wanted to watch it. And I started skipping the videos. And Kristen's like, what are you doing? I'm like, skip. Yeah, I'm trying to figure all that stuff out. It gives you options and like still trying to figure it all out and what balance it is. So I appreciate you watching it or skip it. I don't care. Skip it or watch it, whatever you got to do. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to handle all that stuff. But yeah, the money's just flowing in. Lloydies, welcome in, Lloydies. Good to see you. Do you use PVA bags on running ledger rig? PVA bags on running. Is that like a catfish? Is that the pack, like the pantyhose basically that you put meat into? If so, I typically do not. We do pack bait. And if we're going for catfish, we're using chunks of meat or live. We fish for flatties here, which like live bait. But we just bought something. I should go up in Kevin's room and find it that I think might be a PVA bag that you stuff with the pack bait. And we got the bait that they sell with it too to pack in there. Not sure. I might be totally wrong. Thanks for drop the camera in the end before we end the edit. No worries. That's awesome, Russian Witch. Said thanks, but I dropped the camera at the end before I ended the live. I have to edit it after YouTube's finished processing it. No worries. Stinger flies is the name of the fly I was thinking of. Catfishermen use them. A lot of times a catfish will come in and eat the bait. And I guess they decide, I'm on a diet and I don't really want to eat all this food. But then there's the little minnow looking thing above it and they grab that. And I've seen a lot of big cats caught on those stinger flies. So to me, it's the same idea of using the pack bait for carp. You have the big ball of bait and then you got the little corn off on the hair rig. They might come in. They probably are feeding on the pack, but maybe they just grab that piece of corn. Either way, it's that small hook that gets them sometimes. Everyone's saying hello to each other. You see if I'm caught up. Great for carp. Awesome. I will check that out. I am. I fished with Nolan. I don't know if you guys saw the live on Sunday, and I don't want to put words in mouth. I think what he's doing in his video is he's comparing the European carp fishing with American style carp fishing. And we tried to take, and it might have been you, Lloyd. He's asking why do we put our rods straight up versus like parallel? That was part of it. We had rods in both layouts. We had straight up corn on hooks. We had the hair rigs with the pack bait. So with the bite alarms versus the bell, we had the whole thing as many different approaches. And he's very analytical. So I think that's what he's doing a video on. I'm too dumb to do that stuff. I learned by making mistakes. He's able to like study that stuff and collect data, and he's a smart dude for sure. There's Chris Bogley's keeping it real. What's going on? Good to see you there. Bogley's been doing some good pan fishing, we call it. He's been killing them this winter. Butterflies and Sunshine, welcome in. Good to see you. Shade of green. I mean, I don't know if you have a green, Stuart, called Kelly green, because I think that's based on the Eagles green. But it's like, I don't know, it's a pretty dark green. And any dark or bright green, I think, would work. Green, just like real green. Don't do any weird greens. Bright or dark green is going to work. That is method feeding. Yeah, the method feeder that we use, and it is like, it's basically the lead that you wrap the bait around. And that is like not really a traditional American way to do it till recently. And then we use the method feeders we use are for people that are lazy like me. And it actually has like the bars that go across, and it just helps the pack bait hold on. And to me, it's so much easier than using a regular lead, because then if you're using just like a regular lead or a flat lead, you really have to have your pack bait recipe like on par. And this way you have a little more leeway. It holds better, which is good when it's freezing temperatures out and your pack bait's been frozen and thawed twice. So that's why I like that. Off the Hook said, my buddy is crazy carp fisherman, and he uses kick cereal under pack bait. When the pack bait falls to the bottom, the kicks is floating. I use the fake corn. The fake corn floats, and that's why I like to use it. One of the reasons I like to use it. The other is because the sunfish can't eat it, because you put it on the hair rig on the loop, and the sunnies can't get it off, so it stays there. But yeah, it does the same thing. It floats above it. As soon as that pack bait starts dissolving, that corn or the kick cereal goes right to the top. Oh, Ray, that's dirty. Ray said it's ugly green. It's not that Miami green or whatever that color is, that's for sure. Saying hi to Dolphins aqua is much prettier. I was gonna say it's not like that ugly Dolphins green. That's not real green. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'll try right after this is over. We won't be on more than 8 o'clock, Stuart. I think Bulk was trying to get a hold of me the other night too. I don't care. You can be mean to the Eagles. I'm cool. Not a huge football fan. Yep, everyone just saying hi to each other. Let me see what else we got to cover here. Where they live. I don't know how far spread out they are around the world, but sunfish in general, especially bluegill, cover the entire northern hemisphere. I mean, they're all over America. They go way up into Canada, and they go way down into Mexico. Now, there's certain species that aren't as widespread, like the red ears, more out west and down south, but they're really spread out. They cover a lot of area. The fake corn, it comes from China. When you buy it, it's definitely scented. I can smell it, and it comes with like a little bit of liquid to it. So yeah, it is, but I would add, and I haven't done that yet, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but I want to buy like a carp scent stuff, because I'll tell you the truth, once I put that fake corn on, I leave it on. I don't take it off again, because I fish a lot in the early mornings before work, and it's cold out, and I'm trying to get that little hair rig bait stop through the loop. I can't see it. So I put those things on, they stay on. So I would love to be able to just freshen it up with some type of scent. That would probably be the ideal way to do that. Stuart was sticking up for his little brother, Nolan. Lloydie says PVA dissolve. Hook length. The hook length is in the bag of the boilies. You end up with a mound of bait around the hook bait. Yeah, it sounds like the same idea, just a different method for delivering it. Maybe I would guess that the PVA bag might even keep the bait packed, like less likely for it to fly off on the cast. So yeah, I have to check that out. I have heard that term, but then I found something that worked and I just stuck to it. But you can always get better, so I should check that out. Thanks for mentioning it, Lloydies. The fake corn is like $7 on Amazon. It's real cheap. You get like 30 pieces. Pretty good. I just put like 2 or 3 pieces on. That's all you need. Let's see. Active. So when are sunfish active? So right here we're having winter in Pennsylvania. They're not the easiest fish to catch through the ice. They kind of shut down a little bit. They can be done. You just have to do like tiny little jigs, ice fishing, maggots, something like that. But traditionally, water temps, once they hit the 60s, so like we start trout fishing April 1st, around there, and waters are probably in the 40s to 50s. And every year the sunfish, like there's hardly ever you don't catch sunfish while you're trout fishing too often. A couple weeks into the season, though, they start hitting. So it's about 60s that they start getting active. And they do primarily feed during daylight. You won't catch too many at night. Though I do know, I'm not sure about perch so much, but I do know rock bass definitely feed hard at night. I catch a lot of rock bass while catfishing. Let's see. Keith Doc Reed, another member, welcome in. Awesome to see you. Awesome. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate that. So, yeah, where was I? So, yeah, 60s is when they get active. Upper 60s is when they spawn. When you're fishing, looking for the beds, they will usually nest in sand or gravel. So they move off the mud flats and away from mud. They are usually looking for sand and gravel because, like a lot of other fish, they will dig down, and what you'll see is like a hole maybe 2-3 feet wide, and you'll see like perfect rocks in there. Whereas the area might be kind of sandy around it, you'll see the rocks. That's usually in 6 inches to 3 feet depth of water. The female lays 200,000 eggs. Then the female leaves. The male will guard the nest. And like bass and a lot of other species, the male will protect that nest. It's very easy to catch them during that time because you just basically, throw anything in that nest. That male is going to pick it up. It doesn't have arms, right? It's going to pick that up, get it out of the nest to protect its babies, and you got the sunfish. Another thing I want to mention, for sunfish is a lot of other anglers will learn about sunfish, not to catch sunfish, but to catch bass. So once you see those nests, the sunfish go up on the side, that's usually the time where the bass are going to come up. And that's where you'll see these like huge explosions in a foot of water. And that's usually a big bass chasing up on the nest. So once you start seeing those nests, you're going to want to start throwing something that copies a sunfish pattern and, a baby sunfish pattern, and try to target some of those bass feeding in the shallows. I think we covered everything that I planned on covering. Let me catch up on chat, and then I'll look through on the book to make sure I didn't miss anything that the book offers. 5 days till 3 months. Yep. Stuart is 5 days away from his 3-month membership to the Jelly of the Month Club. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Anyfin membership right there. That's a cool hook. He's got like an anchor hook. Lloydie's got like an anchor hook. I'll have to go look for that, man. You got some special pictures there. Chad said, note to self, bait fish from ice water. Do not go put in warm tank water in the house. Chad, anytime you're taking a fish and putting it in another body of water, you want to acclimate them. So that means, give them time, 20 minutes to an hour. You want the temperatures to be within 10 degrees of each other. That's at least trout. Other fish might not be as picky, but I stock trout with the Stony Creek anglers. And if the hatchery and the truck water is not within 10 degrees of the creek, we can't put them in. They got to be within 10 degrees. If you're introducing them into an aquarium, there's, depending on the fish, there's like if you buy tropical fish, if you buy any type of fish, not only do you acclimate them for temperature, but you actually acclimate them for relieving a stress. So leaving them in the bag lets them see their surroundings. They say it's supposed to make them like better adjusted, less stress, more likely to survive. I don't know. Bass time is almost here in Florida. Right. We got 7 inches of snow up here, but bass fishing's just about to start in Florida. Terry B said crappie are notorious bass egg thieves. That was here. A lot of people hated carp, and their justification for that was that carp spawn right after the bass. And so what happens is the bass lay their eggs, and then the carp come rolling up in the shallows and dislodge the eggs and causing the eggs to get eaten. I don't know. I hear a lot of things by a lot of experts, and there's a lot of disagreement on things. So I always listen, and it might give you an idea while you're out fishing. All of a sudden you might think like, oh, maybe I heard this, it's worth a try. So even if you don't have any faith in what you're hearing, it's still valuable to learn and learn as much as you can, because it might be the deciding factor that makes you do something different that ends up being the difference in catching a fish versus, casting for the 50th time and not catching something. Let's see. The water out from where they come from. If you put the water from where they came, you got to be careful doing that, Stuart, because you can introduce a lot of different diseases into a fish tank. If you're taking water, I usually do not do that. I will net them. I'll get the water temps the same, and then I'll scoop them out and put them in. But that depends on the tank and what you're doing. Obviously, if you're just taking 10 sunfish and raising them for bait, doesn't really matter. And we'll take sunfish and keep them for about a week in a cooler with an aerator for catfish bait. I know Jeff Beal, fishing with Jeff Beal, he has a sunfish tank in his shed, and he will catch and raise them for months. And that he has them basically for all summer long. Whenever he needs one, walks out to his shed, throws it in his bait bucket, and off to the river. Terry B said, yes, I've seen that, Mr. Finn. And I totally forget what I said, but cool. Appreciate it. That's what I was meaning. Bait fish tank. Gotcha. Cool. The reason I say that, Stuart, is I brought one time I brought a sunfish and put it into my tank. That sunfish had, forget what they're called. They look like a little white worm that comes out of them with like two pieces. And that ended up wiping out the whole tank, killed everything in the tank, including my big 1 pound green sunfish. So don't want to do that. I'm living a bait bucket for a day. Yeah, bait bucket. Just recruit like every couple days or every other day or every day even. If you're not going to filter the water, make sure you take half of the water out. We're lucky to live on a creek, so a lot of times we'll just put it in one of those cages and leave it in the creek. But you got to be careful of that because the water snakes will get in. I've been completely wiped out several times by water snakes. Carp being Terry, the carp being disruptive during the bass. Yeah, that's the negative. The positive would be that I heard that, but then I also heard the reason there's so many big bass. We're catching like 7-pounders in a lake where it's loaded with carp, and they used to say, "Oh man, they're going to kill out the bass." But those baby carp are also feeding the bass. That's almost like the primary forage now of the bass, and some of these local spots are actually baby carp. So especially the big bass. Goes both ways, I guess. It all depends on each body of water. If it can adjust and adapts and become part of that life cycle, it may not have been natural or intended, but once it's like in some type of a balance, I think you just have to, let it go a little bit. Lloydie said we have people breed their own worms, lug and rag worm for sea fishing. Yeah, I may do a live. I keep waiting for somebody to suggest it because I think I might be the only one that wants to do it. But I do have, I raise mealworms, and I just find that really fascinating and super easy to do. And I enjoy doing that for the most part. We also do the red worms, but I did, I've done a couple of the saltwater worms just for a short amount of time. And I would love to get into that again, but I'm too far from the ocean to make it worth my while, I think. We have a wormery in the basement. A wormery. I never heard that term. Uh, yeah, I think we had the maggot talk on another live. I think I talked about how we grow maggots here and feed the chickens. I don't want to go into that conversation again. But yeah, maggots are easy. Mealworms are really easy too. I do have a video sitting here that I'm not sure I'm going to put out yet on raising mealworms. It's not quality I wanted, and I'm kind of waiting till I have all 3 life stages to put it out. But we'll see. Maggots are easy. I'm going to flip through the book just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I'll put this in my description. Now, I used this heavily last week when we were talking about pike and muskie. I wanted to make sure I covered everything. Bluegill, I hardly looked at it because I know them a lot more inside and out than I would say a muskie or a pike and how they compare with each other. But I will still put the book in the description, cite the sources, and show you where to buy it if you're interested. Let me just flip through and make sure I didn't miss anything. I mean, you can get really, really crazy on sunfish, and people do, for like how to catch a big sunfish versus small. But I want to keep it. I want to keep it simple. You know. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, remember to keep it friendly, guys. Kid friendly. No bad words. No curses. Kids do watch this channel, so keep it clean. We're all guilty for letting it drop sometimes, but try to keep it clean, please. I think we covered everything we wanted to here. Random Jay, I was just thinking about you the other day, man. What is up with you? I drove by Walmart, and what I was thinking of was like the video where you went out back of Walmart and cast it in because this place had a drainage ditch, but it's Pennsylvania. You know, there's nothing in that ditch but like yesterday's rainwater. But in Florida, you never know what's going to be in there. Hope you're doing good. It's been a while. We're actually just about heading out. I think I covered everything I wanted to. If anyone's got questions or anything they need clarification on, let me know. If you've got topics for next Tuesday, I'm not set on a topic yet. I do like the idea somebody gave me to cover how to fish rubber worms and best techniques, like all the different techniques to fish with the rubber worm, how to rig them. So that might be a good one for Ted to drop a link on too, because I know he makes a lot of those. Random Jason, been off the grid, but miss you. Proud of your channel growth. Awesome, bud. Appreciate that. Yeah. I enjoyed watching you when you'd pop up on John's lives, and we used to interact a lot. You've been around the game a long time, so I look up to you as a experienced YouTuber and dealing with all the BS of YouTube and all the cool stuff on YouTube. So that is awesome. No, Lloydie's bad. You don't have to apologize. I just give everybody, if they see any bad words or any, just get the words out as soon as possible. That's all. And like we got a lot of like young viewers and like Kevin's friends and all, and like Nolan's a perfect example. He's driving his own car, but I always think like I gotta watch what we say, what we do, because I am perfect example. We're down in Philly. One of my rods went in the water. Nolan was going to jump in. I'm like, no, do not. I would have jumped in, but I knew his mom was there, and Nolan's young, and I'm just like, you're going to get grounded, and we'll never be allowed to fish together again. So I'm like, I'm always thinking of that, and so yeah. You see me, I can drop anything with all you and other channels, but for this one, maybe someday I'll have a different channel or something where we can have a little bit more of an open conversation. English slips, Random J, man. I've done every job, I've done so many different jobs in my life, and there was a time where I was actually a phys ed teacher, gym teacher for very like young kids, like first through third grade, at a Christian academy. And I came in from like being a captain, literally from being a captain to that job. So yeah, I get it. I get it, man. So I learned to control the hard way for sure. I think that's it. I think we're going to cut out. Anybody else going live tonight? Anyone going live? I'm going to get out of here. Next Tuesday we'll be live. Friday, we'll definitely have a video. I'm trying to edit it right now. We're going to have a video. Got a lot of shorts coming out. And this weekend is the Philadelphia Expo. So not sure if, probably too far to come from Pittsburgh. But if anyone's on the rewatch, we're going to try to get all the local YouTubers, Jeff Beal, Nolan from Mission Discover, maybe even Leo, Fishing Extreme. I know I'm missing a few. Catfish Curtis. We're going to try to get those guys together, and we're going to have a fish off in the trout tank. There's a little kiddie trout tank that you can go in and catch trout. I think it would be cool if we videoed all the local YouTubers going head to head trying to catch these trout in a bathtub, basically. So keep your eyes out for that video if we make it happen. Otherwise, we'll catch you on the water next time. Peace. No worries. I'm not. I have to get out at 8:00. Some nights we will do the StreamYard though, and I will bring people up, but not tonight. All right, I gotta run. Peace out, guys.